anything in life, you have to see things clearly. If you see things through a fog and everything is just blurred and nothing is clear, then you're never going to have any success in anything. Even if you're going to be an executive in a large corporation, you have to have clarity, otherwise things don't work. And this is even more important on the spiritual path, because often the truth can be a little bit hidden from us, as we have been seeing now. So it's important sometimes, even in Buddhism, there is that degree of faith and confidence, at least when you start out, and then gradually you turn it into wisdom as you practice this path. So let's have a look at some of the other parts here. So the next little sutta, we're still on the same page, is called Mother, and very short little sutta, but quite nice one. And Savatthi mendicates, transmigration has no known beginning, no first point is found of sentient beings roaming and transmigrating, hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. It is not easy to find a sentient being who in all this long time has not previously been your mother. Why is that? Because transmigration has no known beginning, etc., etc. It's enough for you to become disillusioned, dispassionate, and free regarding all conditioned phenomena. So this sutta, the next one is called Father, and there's one called Son, and one called Daughter, and one called Brother, and one called Sister, and all of those variations. Everyone has been all of these relations to you. Yeah? Everyone has been your almost any relationship to you through this long kind of course of samsara. And this is also is kind of nice. When you think about people, it's both nice. It's on the one hand, it's kind of distressing. Perhaps everyone has been in your family. Think about some of those people you wouldn't want to have them in your family, right? But actually, it's actually quite nice, because if you have been a mother of all people out there, it makes you look at people in a new way. Because you remember that this idea, this is a little bit of a sidetrack, because the purpose of this is to kind of get disillusioned with samsara, but this also shows you how metta can be practiced. And this is kind of one of those tricky things, to make metta work in one's life, to have loving kindness for other people, to be able to see the goodness in all people around us. It's quite hard sometimes, so you need some skillful means, and this is one of those beautiful skillful means that actually helps you to look at people in a new way. Yeah, so if you have been the mother or the father of all beings that you ever meet, if I have been your mother, every one of you, and you have been my mother, every one of you here, it changes your relationship. You start to look at people in a new way. Yeah, and the idea, of course, this is what you find in the Metta Sutta, this very beautiful idea about having the same attitude to all beings as a mother has to her only child. What is that is special about a mother? What is special about a mother? A mother is always able to forgive her. Not maybe always, but almost always a mother can forgive her. Yeah? Why is a mother able to forgive her? And the reason the mother can forgive is because when a mother looks at her child, she knows this child, from it was tiny, all the way to now. And a lot of that time, that child has been innocent, been doing the right thing, been very sweet, very cute, and all of those things. And only when they become a teenager do they become a pain in the backside, or something like that. Yeah. So but you have seen the whole range of qualities in that person, and this is the difference. So when you see someone in the world who you find difficult to like, remember there's more to that person. The mother of this person probably loves this person, even though they might be a gangster or whatever. Still, they're able to love this particular person. So remember that. Be like a mother to all beings. It's a beautiful idea. Actually, fathers probably can often have a lot of love for their children as well, but mother love is supposed to be the kind of the highest. So it's good to stick with that. So remember that. Even the worst mass murderers in history are often worthy of a second look. There are other qualities there that might be nice. And when you do that, you bring that out. That is the idea of metta. That was what metta is the idea of seeing the good in other people. It's such an important thing. And of course, when we do that, it changes everything around. But also, in another way, it also changes things. As I said before, we have this tendency in our society to divide society up, us against them, our society against another society, this kind of people against that people, rich against poor, educated against uneducated. We are so dividing everything up. If you think about the world in this way, you're doing the exact opposite. You're uniting people again. One of the things that has often occurred to me, I have often wondered, why am I a Buddhist monk in this life? And often people ask me this question, why are you a Buddhist monk? Almost as if it's like a blame. Why are you a Buddhist monk? And the answer is actually quite difficult. It's actually quite difficult to pinpoint why I am a Buddhist monk. I would like to say because I'm really smart. I mean, super wise, I know exactly what I need to do to live the best possible life. But I realize that's probably being a little bit conceited if I think like that. And the more I look at it, the more it looks to me as if the reason I'm a Buddhist monk is actually because it's a habit. I probably was a Buddhist monk in a past life. Yeah, it's a good habit, right? It's not a bad habit, but it's still a habit. And so my feeling is because to me it came very naturally, and when I think back to some of the experiences I had as a child, I can't really explain those experiences without thinking I was a Buddhist monk, or maybe a Buddhist nun. Maybe I was a Buddhist nun in the past life. That's no alternative. And if it's true, if I'm right to think I was a Buddhist monk or a Buddhist nun in a past life, where would I have been, a Buddhist monk or a Buddhist nun? Well, there were no Buddhist monks or nuns in Europe, yeah, or anywhere else. It would have been here in Asia somewhere. Don't know where. Maybe in Sri Lanka, maybe in Thailand, maybe in China, who knows? This is where I would have been a Buddhist monk, because there was no such thing in Europe. And once I think like that, maybe I was a Chinese nun in a past life, just like you, yeah? It takes away some of those differences, some of the barriers between us. It's like that Chinese nun is right inside of me right now, it's right here. Yeah, it's already part of me in a sense. And this is what this kind of contemplation does to us. If we have been the brothers, the sisters, the mothers, the fathers of everyone in this world, the barriers get broken down. Just because there are cultural differences, just because we think of ourselves as different because of our culture, the culture is only a small, superficial layer outside human beings. In our hearts, we are largely the same. Yeah? This is a wonderful way of thinking, because then we can have more harmony, we can have more peace in the world. And by golly, do we need more harmony and peace in this world. So it is a very good thing. So use these kind of contemplations. Remember the Dhamma teaching is actually very simple. It shouldn't be too intellectual. It should be something which touches you deep inside, something which enhances your life, makes you a better person. And this way of thinking is a simple way of doing that. Okay, anyway, so I brought that out simply because I thought it is a nice sutta, a nice way of thinking about life. And it may also be a little bit off-putting at the same time. If you have been family members of everyone, it says something about how vast this samsaric existence actually is. Okay, next one. Next one is called a stick. This is another kind of similar kind of sutta. At Samadhi, mendicants, transmigration has no known beginning. No first point is found of sentient beings roaming and transmigrating, hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. Suppose a stick was tossed up in the air. Sometimes it would fall on its bottom, sometimes the middle, and sometimes the top. It's the same for sentient beings, roaming and transmigrating, hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. Sometimes they go from this world to the other world, and sometimes they come from the other world to this world. Why is that? Because transmigration has no known beginning, etc. This is enough for you to become disillusioned, dispassionate, and free regarding all conditions. So this is the idea of the stick. Aha, I got a stick. I can show you how it works. Okay, so the stick, you throw it down. So this is bad rebirth. This is good rebirth, yeah? So where are you going to be reborn? uh-oh, hit on that side. Yeah, and this is a bit like throwing at the stick here. We don't know where you're going to be reborn. Of course, this is in the long term, because in the long term you do this, you do that, all kind of things. Of course, in this life, if you live well, then you're going to, very likely, you have a good rebirth as a consequence. But in the long run, looking back over long, long periods of time, you will see this kind of, up and down kind of sinus wave, or whatever it is called, that roller coaster of life, going up and down from this world to the other world, now being born here, now being reborn there, now being reborn in terrible conditions. Imagine being reborn in somewhere like Syria or Afghanistan or something like that on this planet. And sometimes that happens. And the conditions are really dreadful compared to other places like Hong Kong or Perth in Australia. So it's worth, again, keeping that in mind. Anyway, so those are those suttas. They're all of those suttas I've just been reading out recently. They form a particular chapter in the connected discourses of the Buddha called the Anhammadagga Samyutta, which is like the Samyutta, the connected discourses on without beginnings, things kind of going back indefinitely in the past. So if you like this kind of teachings, if you think that they're interesting, and there are more such suttas there. So anyway, now I want to have a look at one last sutta, which is to do with the kind of right view in terms of it's just an expansion on the idea of right view. So far we have looked at the idea of suffering. This is a little bit more expanded idea of right view. I'd like to focus on right view because it is such an important part. It is the first factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. So for the path to really work, you have to have the first factor in place. One of the very important principles in the Dhamma is that everything is conditioned. Things build on each other. So when you have 8 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, it starts off with the first one. And then the first one informs the second one. The second one leads to the third one, and all the way to the end. And everything in Buddhism is like that. It's about conditionality and causality, how things support each other. And for this reason, the idea of right view, having faith and confidence in the right kind of teachings, is very fundamental for this practice to really work. And so this is why I put so much emphasis, at least this time. Every year I try to do things a little bit differently. You probably, I don't know if you have noticed, maybe because you probably end up saying much the same things, but a slightly different angle on things. So this is quite a well-known passage on the idea of right view, and this is right view from the point of perspective of ordinary people. And this is what it says. They have right view, an undistorted perspective. There is meaning, giving, sacrifice, and offerings. There are fruits and results of good and bad deeds. There is an afterlife. There is obligation to mother and father. There are beings reborn spontaneously. And there are ascetics and Brahmins who are well attained and practiced and who describe the afterlife after realizing it with their own insight. So this is the standard passage on right view in the suttas. It's called right view, undistorted perspective, without kind of just, not, in other words, not deluded, but having clarity about things. And so this is, all of these points are important to kind of bring together in one's practice, if you like. And you see there, it starts off with the idea of generosity. There is meaning in giving, in sacrifice and offerings. So the emphasis that we have in Buddhism on generosity is obviously right there at the beginning with right view. This matters enormously. So understanding the idea of generosity, when you read the word of the Buddha and it teaches a teaching called the gradual training, there's this short version of the gradual training where he kind of leads people to understand the Dhamma. He starts off with generosity. Then he goes from generosity to virtue, from virtue to renunciation, from renunciation to meditation, and then to understanding the Four Noble Truths. But it actually starts off with generosity. And the reason is that generosity is very powerful, and also it tends to be easier for people than practicing virtue very often. Often I hear people, oh, I can be generous, but I can't keep the 5 precepts, too difficult. And I say, well, maybe it's not that hard. If you have one of the most important things to keep the 5 precepts is to have good company. People who do the same thing. To have the kalyana mittas is so important. This is why we have Buddhist organizations. That's why we have people having friends. You should choose your friends wisely. Don't choose dodgy people as your friends, because then you gradually become dodgy yourself. This is just the way things are. So, idea of generosity is in the foundation of the Buddhist path. And one of the things that is interesting about generosity that the Buddha says in a number of places is that if you are going to be successful, really successful in a meditation practice, you have to be completely open-hearted and open-handed about giving. The moment you go into a deep state of meditation, you are absolutely generous. There's no holding back in terms of generosity. It doesn't mean that you give a lot when you go into deep meditation, but you can't give. It's an attitude of the mind that you have. This attitude is there. And the higher you go on the path, the further you practice, the more powerful that act of generosity is. And this is, you can tell this, you can see this in people who are well practiced. This is one of the kind of outstanding qualities of someone like Ajahn Brahmāli. If you ask Ajahn Brahmāli something, he will almost always say yes, unless he's about to kind of die or something, or he's about to fall asleep because he's so tired. I don't know if you heard the story. Ajahn Brahmāli he travels a lot, obviously, and so a few years ago he was in Malaysia and he was giving a talk, and he was starting to feel sick while he was giving the talk, and then he just kept on going because sickness is no issue if you're giving a talk. Talk is more important than sickness, until eventually he was about to throw up, so he had to kind of hold his mouth and try to run out of the room, but unfortunately he didn't quite make it to the bathroom in time. This is kind of the attitude, you really kind of give it everything on the way, even if you're feeling ill. He probably went a little bit too far at that time, maybe not such a good example for all of us, but still, that is the kind of attitude. Always give, always help out if you feel you have the opportunity. And this is one of the signs of having gone a long way on the spiritual path. So it's very important. So how shall we be generous? And there's a lot of suttas on generosity, how to do it right. And one of the things that I mentioned this morning is to remember it is not just about being generous to Buddhism, it's about being generous in general, having an open heart to everyone in this world. And especially, there is one place where the Buddha is asked by King Pasenadi of Kosala, where should I be generous? And then the Buddha replies, this is quite interesting, he says, well, where you should be generous is one question. Where does generosity give us most merit is a different question. So where you should be generous is not the same as where it gives most merit, most, whatever, in other words, most feel good, or whatever you want to call it. These are two different things. And it's kind of astonishing. Most people think the place you should be generous is where you get most merit. That's the whole point of being generous, isn't it? The Buddha doesn't say that. He says the place you should be generous is where you feel that your mind is kind of becoming peaceful, becoming calm, you become happy, you feel inspired to give, you feel compassionate towards something. That is where you should give. Why is that? And the reason is because if you always think about merit, you become this calculating machine. You have a spreadsheet calculating how much merit is this person, how much merit is that one. If I give here, I get that much. If I go there, I go that much. And you destroy the whole point of merit, which is to make you happy, because you become this kind of cynical robot who kind of calculates the merit that you get. It's the wrong way of being kind. It's the wrong way of generosity. Generosity is about coming from your heart. It's about being compassionate. It's about being inspired to give. And when you give in this way, you feel really good about it afterwards. It makes a deep impression on your mind, because you really felt there was a need, you felt that there was something very important to be done. You felt compassion towards that person, or towards that organization, or whatever it is. So make sure that you give when you feel inspired, when you feel that it makes you happy, it it gives rise to joy in your life, it has all of these positive side effects, and when you are mindful also, then it leaves a deep imprint on your mind. And whenever an act of generosity or kindness leaves a deep imprint in your mind, it means it's easy to recall later on. So when you come here on this retreat, and you remember some act of kindness you have done in the past, you can feel it straight away. You can go back to that feeling you had when you were generous, because it left a very deep impression on your mind. And you know what I mean? If you think about your life, you think about those times when you have really been kind, they're the ones you remember easily because they leave a deep impression on you. So this is the right way of doing this. And then it has a powerful effect. And ideally, if you are inspired to give to a Buddhist cause, and you give to someone, then the idea of giving, getting joy out of it and getting merit out of it, they will actually coincide very nicely. Because you are inspired in the right place and all of that. But remember, give where you feel inspired. Then you learn to give. You learn the joy of giving. When you learn the joy of giving, it becomes a beautiful habit you can take with you your entire life. And it doesn't mean when we are generous, we don't have to necessarily give a lot. You can give small amounts. Much more important to be generous regularly. And generosity is not just about money, it's about all the things that we do to support other people in our life. Every act of kindness is also an act of generosity. You could argue that sila in a way is an expansion of generosity, taking it further. So always take opportunities, always say a kind word, bring a cup of tea to your fellow worker, hold the door open for somebody. Like Gerald is holding the door open for me all the time. Which is very nice. Actually, it's my turn to hold the door open for him next time, so keep that in mind.
You have done that many
times. I've done that already, okay.
So thank you very much.
Good. And then you are doing it in the right way. Again and again and again, acts of kindness. This is how you build it up, the idea of generosity. So that is just to remind you of these things. There is an art to all of these things. None of these things are automatic. You just give like a robot and then it kind of happens automatically. There's an art to these things. Follow your heart, know what is right. Very often we know what is right by intuition, but then we are taught some kind of intellectual teachings and it overrides our intuition, and then we destroy some of the happiness and some of the goodness of generosity. So, there you are. So that is what it means. There is meaning in these things. And if you are wise, you would feel that meaning in generosity right there when you are kind and generous to somebody. And this takes us straight into the next one, which is that there are fruits and results of good and bad deeds. This is another very important thing. And this, of course, is the Buddhist idea of karma, the idea that you do something, something comes back to you. So what is that? Are you cold? Is everyone okay? Are you okay? You're not too cold? I like very cold. Everybody likes as cold as me. So we have to find the middle way. Everything is middle way in Buddhism. Is everyone okay? You're not freezing to death or anything like that? That would be very bad karma for me if you die before I'm happy. So please don't be afraid of saying, so we find the middle way in here. I've told Gerald to find the middle way. I'm sure he'll be very happy to oblige to find the middle way for everyone. So, what does it mean, the idea of karma? And very often the way that people think about karma is that you do something good and then something comes back to you in a future life. This is kind of the standard way of thinking about karma. But it is not all that. It's probably true, from a Buddhist point of view, there's nothing really wrong with that. Yes, you get happy in a future life if you do good things in this life, but that is not the main importance of the idea of karma. The idea of karma is to support you in this life as well. And the Buddha talks about 3 types of karma, and one of these types of karma is the karma which ripens in this life. Then you have the karma which ripens in your next life. Then you have the karma which ripens in lives beyond that. And of these 3 types of karma, in my opinion, the most important one, as far as we are concerned right now, is the karma that ripens in this life. Because the karma that ripens in this life is going to support you in your practice. But first of all, what is karma? Karma is the connection between your intentions on the one hand and how you feel about yourself on the other hand. It's as simple as that, yeah? A good intention, you feel good about yourself in general. Bad intention, you feel bad about yourself. And this is true whether it's across lifetimes or just in this life. So one way of knowing whether you have done good karma or not is simply to feel what you feel like when you do an act. So notice what you feel like. I was just talking about generosity before. And sometimes when you feel really generous, when you feel that your heart kind of opens up to the world and you want to give it, you just feel incredibly good about yourself. And then you understand the connection between good intention and feeling good about yourself. This is something you can experience right here and right now. This is why it is so useful. Notice the same thing when you do an act of kindness, or you say something kind to somebody, or even you have a kind thought. How does it feel? It almost always, if you are coming from a pure place, a pure heart, it feels good. And this is the idea of karma in the present life. And if you do the opposite, this is also useful to make a note of. If you do something which is not so kind, you say something, maybe you lose your mindfulness a little bit, and you do something which is not so kind, what does it feel like afterwards? You feel a little bit negative, it darkens your mind a little bit. You feel bad about yourself afterwards, because you've done something bad. Notice that connection. If you notice the connection between how you feel about yourself and what you intend, it becomes a very powerful source for living well. Because you understand the connection, you understand how you feel in this very life depends on how you live. And this becomes one of the most powerful ways of living well and understanding that you're only kind of destroying your own life by not being kind to others. So remember that, and this is the kind of karma which really matters. We need to get away from the kind of blind karma, I give in this life and I get a BMW in my next life or whatever. That's kind of, maybe you do get a BMW if that's what you want, but it's kind of irrelevant. That's not really where it is at. So this is one much more important way of thinking about this. And the magic about this is that as you do acts of good intentions in this way, yes, you feel good about yourself pretty much straight away, but there is a residue in your mind which keeps your mind, lifts your mind up to a new level, and it stays at that new level. And then as you keep on accumulating these good intentions one after the other throughout the whole life, you keep on lifting your mind up, The mind becomes lighter and brighter and more beautiful. It soars up, becomes a beautiful, wonderful mind. And if you stop doing the bad actions, the bad intentions, they're the ones that hold you down, like the things that tether you to the ground, the sandbags that hold the balloon down. You let go of those, and again, you soar up and you become light and bright, and you get this beautiful mind. You build up a beautiful mind in this very life. So it is an accumulation of good karma. That's why we're talking about accumulating karma, because as you act in this way, it builds up. But you should feel it, This is the important thing. It should be something you experience over time, that there is a change in your mental landscape. You feel different about yourself. That is kind of one of the main points. This is how it works. This is how you should be able to experience the results right here and right now. If you're not experiencing the results, ask yourself why. Maybe you can do things a bit differently. Maybe you need to adjust a little bit how you live. Maybe there's more you can do to live better than you have until now. And we need that kind of honesty with ourselves. If not honest with ourselves, we're not going to go very far on this path. So this is the idea of fruits and results in this life, and how this works. And anyone who examines their own mind and in a very careful way, they will see the truth of this. And if you don't examine your mind and your heart in a careful way, then what will happen? Very often you slip up and you go completely wrong, and you think doing bad things is good. This is how you get bad people in this world, because they don't really reflect properly. They don't really understand themselves. That's why you get brutality in the world. You get, bad gangsters. You get people who kill, people who steal, people all these things because they think somehow they're going to make them happy, but they haven't really investigated properly. All you need is a little bit of reflection, a little bit of wisdom, and and you will see that this is the only way that really works if you're going to be happy. I know you already know these things, most of you, otherwise again you wouldn't be here. You already know them, but it's good to reinforce these things because they are such fundamental aspects of the spiritual path. So there's fruits and results of good and bad deeds. Yeah, there is an afterlife. In other words, there is a rebirth. Yeah, this life and the other life. And again, this becomes very important because it changes how you think about things. You become more of a long-term investor, as I was saying the other day, and you invest for the long run rather than for the short run. You remember that in this life, everything is going to have to go when you die, and everything you have accumulated in this life doesn't really mean very much on your deathbed. And if that is all you have, you're going to feel cheated when you die. You're going to feel empty. You're going to feel like you have been robbed of something. You've worked so hard for these things, and now everything has to go. It's going to feel terrible. So make sure you build up something for the heart, something for the mind, and then you carry that with you into the future. So that is the idea of rebirth, why it matters quite enormously in Buddhism. Then we have the idea that there is obligation to mother and father. Yeah, these mother and father are a very powerful field of merit in Buddhism. So if you act wrongly towards your parents, it's going to be very detrimental. But if you act rightly to your parents, it's going to be very beneficial. So you try to change your attitude to your parents. I know that in Asian societies you have a very strong sense of filial piety. You have to look after your parents, and sometimes people say, "Oh, such a burden, oh, I have to do all this for my parents," and according to our culture, we have to kind of carry this burden all the time, and people kind of really sometimes get kind of upset with that. But try not to think like that, because if you see it as a burden, it becomes very hard to do it with a good heart. Instead, see it as an opportunity. Yeah, use it wisely. Use it as an opportunity to do something kind. And there's many ways of doing this. The Buddha gives some very beautiful advice in the suttas on how to reflect on your parents. And one of the things that he says about our parents is that they are like Brahma. Brahma is like the supreme God, the kind of the God of loving kindness and compassion, the God which lives in the realm of the jhanas. And these are the Brahma, like Ajahn Brahmāli. Yeah, he kind of comes from that realm, I think. Ajahn Brahmāli's full name is Ajahn Brahma Vangsu. Vangsu means a lineage or family, so it means that he's the lineage of Brahma. So this is the idea of the really high gods, full of metta and kindness. Our parents are like that. Yeah, our parents are like these gods. And again, this idea of a mother and a father, the way they love their children, even though they may tell them off occasionally, the only people who would put up with the children in that way is the parents. No one else in the whole world would put up with the children in quite the way the mother and the father does. And in the end, the love always comes back again. It's always there. Yeah? And so one way is this parental love. The fact that your parents have looked after us and have given us so much benefit of the doubt over such a long period of time is an amazing gift without which the world would be much more difficult for us to live in this world. So remember that. Remember what your parents have gone through for each one of us. It is not easy to be a parent. You know that yourself. For those of you who are parents, quite a few of you are parents, yet you know what it's like to be a parent. Sometimes they say you have to be a parent yourself before you understand your own parents and the sacrifice they had to go through. So this is one way, remembering the parental love. Another way is to remembering your parents as teachers. They're called the Pupa Acharya in the suttas. Pupa means like the previous or the first. Acharya is teacher. Like Ajahn, when you call me Ajahn Brahmāli, Ajahn actually means teacher. It's related to the word Acharya in Pali language. So Pupa Acharya is like the first teacher. Yeah, everything we have learned in this world, almost all the most important things that we know. Yeah, things like getting dressed, things like eating properly, things like going to the toilet, things like, whatever it is. Yeah, basic things in life. Our parents taught us those things. Without our parents, we wouldn't know all of these fundamental things in life. Comes from there. So again, the Puracharya, the early first teachers. So once you start to think about your parents in this way, it starts to change something inside of you. Because when you are around people all the time, we tend to see the negative things. We tend to focus, this is just our bad human habits. We tend to remember the bad things, and we forget the big picture. The big picture is usually far, far better than all the small irritations that we have in ordinary life. So remember the big picture. And when you remember that, it makes it easier for you to forgive all the small little things that seem bad, and instead focus on the large picture, and then kind of pay back your parents for the sacrifice and all the things they did for you when you were a child. And it's very powerful when we do this. When I became a Buddhist monk, I started to realize the importance of this myself. And it is very powerful when we act with kindness towards your parents. Because I was just like any teenager. I was really rebellious and really bad. Yeah, I was not super bad, perhaps, but I did bad things as well, like many teenagers do. And but I realized I got to change this attitude towards my parents once I became a monk. And so I did. I very consciously changed things around, and the impact is just so significant. Yeah, when you start to treat your parents deliberately, trying to be supportive and kind. Of course, it helps that you're a monk because you have a bit more distance. And this is one of the things I would recommend you. Don't spend too much time with your family and parents. If you spend too much time, you drown in the habits. You need time for yourself to stand back a little bit, to build up the good qualities. Then you are more able to support them. It's more important to have quality time than quantity time. So spend more quality rather than quantity. It's up to you to decide how much, but not so much that you drown in all the bad habits. And then if you're able to be more kind, it has a very transformative effect on your parents. They think, wow, is this our son? What happened? Maybe he's been brainwashed by Buddhism or something. That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, you got brainwashed by Buddhism and you become more kind. And it is very powerful in so many ways, because one of the things that happens when you do this is that your parents also become interested in Buddhism. This is the other thing that happens. Yeah, because they think, well, if this is what Buddhism has done to our son, then it must be something good. Yeah, if kind of parents are just like everyone else, they're a bit selfish. Yeah, if he's good to me, it must be something good about Buddhism. So, and this opened up most of my family to Buddhist ideas, to the idea that they should maybe listen to the Dhamma. And towards the last few years of my father's life, and whenever we met together, and they would take me on all kind of vacations. Sometimes we went on a safari. One year we went to China. We went to all these various locations around the world because that's what they like to do, and they would invite me along. So I was a really bad monk, living in these really luxurious places. But what was so nice about it was that every day my father, okay, now we will sit down together as a family and we will have a Dhamma talk and we'll do some meditation together. It's a very strange idea to sit there with your parents, with your siblings, and now they have in-laws because they're all married and children. Everyone is there. It's okay to give a Dhamma talk to everyone here because you are you're not so close to me. Yeah, it's easy. But when it's your own family, it's very strange. You have to give them a Dhamma talk. But it's also a very special opportunity because it's a feeling that you can repay, a feeling you can do something very good for them. And it's amazing the power of these teachings. They have the ability to turn people around in this way. So this is what happened towards the end of my father's life, and they all wanted to, not all perhaps, but they mostly wanted to hear about Dhamma, not the young generation, of course. They kind of did their own thing, but all the my siblings and my parents certainly did. And then when it was time for my father's funeral, I did his funeral. And my sister, she was one of the last holdouts. Yeah? She wasn't really all that interested in Buddhism. But then over the years, towards the end, she too came around. And then she asked me, can I please do her funeral when it was her turn? Which of course I did very gladly. So it's very powerful. Treat your parents well. When you treat your parents well, it opens up their heart in a new way. If you want to teach your parents about Buddhism, if they are not Buddhists in the full sense of the word, don't kind of preach to them too much. If you try to preach to them, they're not going to listen. You have first of all to reach their heart. reach their heart through kindness, reach their heart by acting in the right way, and then that opens up that heart, and then you can you have some chance, some possibility of reaching them with these wonderful Buddhist teachings. This is just an example, because I know from personal experience the power of this, because this is what I have gone through. And so it was very difficult to begin with, and really, really hard, because when I decided to become a monk, my family was not amused. Like the Queen of England, she's not amused. My family was definitely not amused when I decided to become a Buddhist monk. They had high hopes for me, becoming some kind of dodgy Buddhist monk. That was not the idea. But they understood after a while this was far better than any worldly profession I could possibly have. Anyway, so reflect on that, try to make that into part of your practice, because it is very powerful and very beautiful. So, then we have the next aspect here. There are beings that are reborn spontaneously. It's a little bit strange. Why is this important? Well, I think the reason why this is important is because it expands the idea of samsara. If everyone is just flesh and blood, then that is not really so. You can only be humans, maybe animals. But the idea here is that if you can reborn spontaneously, it allows for all kinds of beings. Beings reborn in the heavenly realms, beings maybe reborn as ghosts, and all these kind of things. It opens up for that possibility if you have spontaneous rebirth. Has anyone here seen ghosts? Or heavenly beings? Anyone seen ghosts? Has anyone here is a ghost? That's more interesting. If someone is a ghost, they're kind of hiding out in the crowd. Nobody has seen a ghost, okay. But you should be very happy if you can see a ghost. Most people are afraid of ghosts, but if you see a ghost, really see a ghost, and you're not afraid because if you have a lot of metta, you won't be afraid because you feel that nothing can touch you. So build up a lot of metta and see a ghost. And because it opens up a new vista, it opens up a new reality to you if you see a ghost. We don't normally see these things because these are seen with the mind. You need a developed mind to be able to see this. Suddenly you get an access to a reality which is different. That's why it's so interesting. And if you see these things really well, you will be convinced afterwards that there is other kinds of beings that we don't normally see. That opens up your mind to other possibilities. So don't be afraid of this kind of slightly unusual phenomena. And they're very interesting. And it makes the world much more exciting and interesting when you see all of these other things like that. There's so much more to this world than what we think. And that is kind of one of the things that is worthwhile on reflecting, and it helps you to reinforce the idea of right view of the Buddhist path as well. So these are the spontaneous beings. Then the next one here, we're coming towards the end now, and there are ascetics and Brahmins who are well attained and practiced, and who describe the afterlife after realizing it with their own insight. So this is the idea that there are people in the world like a Buddha. There is a Buddha in the world. The Buddha is the primary example of someone who is well attained and well practiced. So you have confidence in the Buddha, and you have confidence in that path, and that he is that someone like that is practicing it. And a lot of people don't really have much confidence in any spiritual life or any religion or anything like that. And I think people who don't have any confidence in any spiritual life, most of them have very poor lives. Lives that are very empty, very meaningless. If you're just going to live for material things, and just going to live for status, and just going to live for these things in the world, it is not really meaningful. You're always trying to prove yourself, always trying to show yourself off to other people. You get meaning in what other people say about you. Wow, look at them, they're rich. So what? It doesn't matter what other people think. Other people don't know what they're talking about anyway. If other people praise you, but if that person who praises you doesn't know what they're talking about, what does that praise matter? And we get trapped by the praise of the world. This is how we get trapped in society. You go to school, you work really hard, people say, yeah, well done, straight A's. This is what we like here in Hong Kong, or anywhere they like that, straight A's. So you get praised, and because you get praised, you work harder because you like the praise. And what you're doing is you're getting trapped by society around you. You're allowing other people's praise to put you in your place, and then you act accordingly to how society wants you to act. So you work really hard, you become really successful, because everyone says that success is good. Being wealthy is better than being poor. Being educated is better than being uneducated. Being intelligent is better than being stupid. Being high social status is better than being low social status. And so we strive for these things, because then other people will praise us and they'll think that we are wonderful. But these other people who praise us, they haven't got a clue. They don't know anything. They are just following the same stupidity as everyone else. You know, when your parents praise you because you get straight A's, your parents don't really know. They have just been brainwashed by society, just like everyone else. So all these other people who are brainwashed, who don't really understand the reality, they are the ones who praise us. And then we get trapped by that praise, and we end up doing exactly the same stupid things as everyone else. So this is why it is important to be a bit rebellious. Being rebellious is good. Anyone who becomes a Buddhist nun, is a little bit rebellious. You go against the grain. Anyone who becomes a Buddhist monk, the same. Because you have to go against the grain sometimes. Sometimes you know you're doing the right thing. Don't allow anything to stop you. Don't allow your parents to say, oh no, we want you to be a successful doctor or a successful whatever. Don't kind of go for that trap. Don't allow yourself to be trapped by these things, because you may be giving up something far, far more meaningful and important in life. So I am always a bit impressed by rebellious people. I like people who rebel in the right way, not in the bad way, but in the right way, with a good heart, with kindness and compassion. Ajahn Brahmāli is actually quite rebellious when we think about it. He's gone out of his way to do things that nobody else was praising, but he couldn't care less, because he knew he was doing the right thing. And my other kind of good friend in monastic life, Ajahn Sujata, he's also a bit of a rebel. He's not the kind of person, A4 kind of person at all. So many of the people I admire the most are rebels. The Buddha was a bit of a rebel. He rebelled against the Brahmanical society. He did his own thing, rejected the path of everyone else, found his own path. He was a rebel. Ajahn Shah, Ajahn Brahm's teacher, he was a bit of a rebel in Thailand. He rejected the kind of the norms of most of the Sangha and went his own way, because he realized most of the Sangha was corrupt. So why should I follow the corrupt Sangha? I need to go my own way. All the best people, many of the best people in the world are rebels. Some of the bad people in the world are rebels too. Don't get it right. You have to get it right. So this is in many ways a positive thing. Don't allow yourself to be trapped by things. Look out, for those people in the world who are special. Look out for those things that are inspiring in the world. Don't be afraid of having a bit of confidence in teachings that are really wholesome. Don't be afraid of having your own opinions. If something looks bad to you, quite likely it is bad. Don't just follow along because other people said, this person is an arahant. And you say, sadhu, sadhu, and you follow along, but actually you haven't really looked at yourself properly. Don't be afraid of looking yourself, and then you'll be heading in the right direction. If we are too following the crowd all the time, we're not going to get anywhere. So this is the idea. One of the interesting things that you will see there is that the people who are well practiced and well attained, again, they are the ones who describe the afterlife. Those who describe, in other words, the idea of rebirth. And again, it shows you the importance of rebirth in Buddhism. It's specifically those who talk about rebirth that matter, because they are the ones who have, this is the kind of reality you want to see, and it shows you again the importance of rebirth in Buddhism. Rebirth is almost like a definition of dukkha. Once you get that, you start to understand suffering properly. So you see this rebirth coming in here again and again in the idea of right view, and it does here as well. So I think you should all feel so lucky that you are Buddhist. I feel really lucky that I'm a Buddhist, because I can't imagine any more beautiful teaching than the Buddhist teaching. It is so powerful, and the suttas, the word of the Buddha, are so powerful compared to any other religion you read about. You open the Bible, and there's a few nice passages in the Bible. I've never really read the Bible, I was never interested in it. But most of the Bible is just like empty and boring, and there's nothing there of any interest whatsoever. I don't know why people study the Bible. But they have these Bible classes, it's just, there's nothing, you know, the few passages are good, I have to admit, the few passages are nice, but generally speaking, it is so poor compared to the Buddhist teachings. The Buddhist suttas have such integrity, they are so powerful, so simple, so direct. There's almost nothing in there which is dodgy. You read the Bible, it's full of dodgy stuff. And this is, so the Buddhist teachings are so superior, and so, I don't know, so universal, they apply to everyone. The Christianity is a tiny religion that grew up in the Middle East, and it belongs to that tiny society in the Middle East. Buddhism is this vast, universal religion that incorporates everyone. It is not kind of connected to one little people. The idea of Christianity is that, if you are a Christian, if you belong to this tribe, then God will look after you. That idea still exists in Christianity after 2,000 years. Buddhism is not like that at all. You don't even have to be a Buddhist. If you are kind and good, then you will go in the right direction. So, I don't know, I feel really kind of blessed to be a Buddhist, because I have this astonishingly wonderful teacher who discovered these things 2,500 years ago. And if you think about that in the right way, you think how fortunate you are to have the Buddha as your teacher. He actually gives rise to a bit of joy, that too. That is another way of giving rise to joy in your practice. And also think about the Dhamma, these wonderful teachings that you have. That guide you in the right direction. And then your Kalyana Mittas that support you on this path. This is another way of using this idea of people who are well practiced and well practiced and well attained to think about this in the right way. So, there you are. That is kind of one of the foundation stones of right view. And one of the most important things in Buddhism, and I always like to, actually, there's so many things, I always keep on saying one of the most important things, we have said that 100 times, it kind of loses some of its force, because everything seems so important. But one of the things that the Buddha does recommend in the suttas is that to reflect on these teachings. It's not just about hearing them once or reflecting a little bit, but reflect on these things again and again. And one thing is me saying these things, but when you think about them for yourself, that is when they become very powerful. Because that is when you take them on board in a much deeper fashion. So don't just listen to me. Maybe what I'm saying is just nonsense anyway, you don't really know. Reflect on them, find out whether it really works, and then you gradually take them on board. So reflect on these things. Read these things for yourself. See if they are true, if they make sense. And gradually these things will grow. They will become very powerful inside of you. And then when you sit down, you want to meditate, you think back on these teachings, you think back to the Buddha, you think back to your generosity, you think back to all of these things, and you actually start to feel joy, and you start to meditate, you watch the breath, everything comes together beautifully here. You get into a wonderful state of samadhi. I've been coming here to Hong Kong, what is it, the fifth year now this year, and every year people come for interviews and everything, and there's always people right here in your midst who get really nice meditation, even on these short 5-day retreats. It's only a short retreat. It's almost like a Mickey Mouse retreat in a sense. That's being a bit hard. Actually, it's a very nice retreat here because it's peaceful, it's beautiful, it's just very short, that's all. But you get some nice Dhamma teachings. You get the chance to meditate, and some people get beautiful meditation who come here on these retreats. So it's already happening, right in your midst. You may not even have known about it. What a wonderful thing that is. That is where you're heading. So keep on practicing it, keep on reflecting, and make this your own teaching, and as you do so, you will also get all those beautiful results. Okay, that is all for now. So please keep on enjoying yourself, and I'll be back again at 7 o'clock this evening.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.